Are you getting the results you want from your creative content? Are you happy with it? Let me ask you another question. Have you got just one person making it? If so, that may be the problem. And that is what we're going to be discussing in this edition of Tea Talks. Let's get into it. So Darren, here we are, yet another episode of Tea Talks in the car. We're loving these. On the road, on the motorway once again. We've just come from a pitch, and one of the key talking points was the creative. And within that, one of the pain points that we identified and spent a good hour plus talking about was that they are not happy with their creative content, their videos, their graphics, all of that stuff. And we quickly got to the root of the problem, which was...
There's only two people in the whole creative team, none of which are videographers, and therefore the video is mediocre. Yeah.
And they're doing some good stuff, great brands, but I think what we took away from that, and we've seen it time and time again, is that brands so often are churning out lots of different types of content for lots of different platforms, lots of different uses, ads, social use, etc., etc. And what tends to happen in brands, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this will be able to relate to, is that you end up having one somewhat generalist that creates the content. They might be a photographer that ends up doing the video, or they might be a graphic designer that ends up trying to do the motion graphics.
Exactly.
That's what we see, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's the blanket approach, and I've seen it time and time again. And I've been it time and time again. I've been in that position where I am the digital content creator. It's a blanket name for a blanket approach. And ultimately what that does is you ask one person to take on several different disciplines. And ultimately they're very different. A graphic designer is an entirely different skill set to a videographer. And actually, as we've seen with what we've been looking at today, you take someone who is a photographer and they're a great photographer. They're making really good content in terms of photography. But they're not a videographer. So it means when they try to do video, the idea is there. Good start going. But you're not quite getting the results that you want.
The execution's lacking, isn't it? It's just not where it needs to be. And the client, this particular prospect we were talking to, they fully acknowledged that. They said, I think their exact words were, we're just not quite hitting the mark. And they couldn't put their finger on why. And I think there'll be others watching this that maybe have got that one person generalist. And I get the thinking behind it, because, well, if we bring one person in, they can do everything. And that's, you know, a more cost-effective way of doing it. We see the same in sort of, you know, in the my world, marketing. You know, brands will have one generalist marketer that tries to do SEO, do paid media, manage these ad accounts. And it just never works. You know, you need specialists in these given roles. Otherwise, you are just going to get mediocre creative, mediocre content, which then in turn means you're going to get mediocre results.
One person cannot do it all. If you want photography, you need a photographer. If you want video, you need a videographer. So on and so on.
And in this world now, that every market, you know, every prospect that we go and see, every brand that we talk to, if we look at our own clients, every market is saturated. You know, there is no such thing these days as, you know, an easy... There's a great thing, isn't it? You know, every business is hard, but there's easy hard and hard. You know, that's a great quote from someone we follow. And I think within that, it's so true. No industry, no sector is easy these days. So what you've got to do is make sure that you're creative is key. Your creative helps you stand out. You know, reaching that audience has never been tougher. In getting that engagement has never been harder. So your creative's got to work so much harder. And if all you're doing is creating mediocre content, how do you ever hope to stand out?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, as you say, it's saturated. There's so much out there. So if you're not getting the results you want, and then if you really ask yourself, is my content good enough? And the answer is no, then that's the answer. I mean, I would say stand out or stand down.
Oh, there's a tagline for that. I love it. That's nice. That's very nice. But I think it's, and a great thing that we always do, we did it pre this, they go and see these guys today, and we always do it, is look at what your competitors are doing. Look at where that bar is raised to currently, you know, because if you, and we've seen it, we've some of the clients we're working, we've looked at their competitors and gone, they are raising the bar. They are going to town with their creative. They're really doubling down on their creative, on their content, the video, their work they're putting out. And we're going, look, you got to play ball. You got to step up. If otherwise, you're going to be left behind.
Well, exactly. And the thing is, like, I know that in some cases you can't afford to get everyone in,
but then you can't really afford not to. There you go. That's kind of it, right? I mean, anyone think we're marketers, but you can't afford not to, because the cost of acquisition, the cost of attention, how expensive it is to get in front of that customer, never been higher. Every platform, doesn't matter what you're doing, it is getting more expensive to get in front of that customer. Therefore, you've got that opportunity. You've got those, quite literally, a few seconds, haven't you? 3 or 4 seconds to capture that attention. It's got to be hard hitting. I mean, it's got to be in your face and look fantastic.
You say it quite a lot, actually. I've heard this from you, and I'm gonna destroy this in a paraphrase. But you always say something along the lines of, in this saturated market, as you said, you have to market your way out of it.
Yeah, totally.
And you have to, times are tough, and I think ultimately what happens with a lot of brands is they take their marketing away and they say, we're going to just rely on the product to sell itself. And actually that never works. And instead of saying, oh, well, we tried video, we tried photography, we tried graphic design, well, did you have one person doing it? Yes. Well, then that
we've got a photographer and he dabbled with a bit of video. It didn't work, therefore we don't see the value in doing video. Or we've got a designer, maybe a VM, or someone that does some form of design, and then we're going to get them to try and do some graphics for us, or rebrand the business for us, or do these things. It's all of that. It's that cross-pollination across different skill sets. And then you end up getting, an average at best output, which then feeds into the ads, to the ads that you're running and to the messaging you're putting out there, and it just has this sort of domino effect of lackluster results. And then it looks like, okay, well, the ads aren't working because and actually, the number of times that we look at ad accounts and then actually we just go straight to the creative and go, what are you doing? And then we compare it to what others are doing, and we're like, but this is just nowhere near cutting it. And the guys today, but it's good stuff they're putting out, but when you compare it to what's out there from the competitors, when they're doubling down on the creative, it doesn't
stand out.
You've got to stand up. So if we're saying to someone watching this, look, your one person in the team isn't going to cut it, suddenly you need a team of 4 or 5 experts, naturally their first thing is going to be, well, I can't afford that.
No.
So if that is the case, and you're going, well, I can't go from a team of 1, or a team of 2 to a team of 5 or 6 or whatever, which is going to be most brands, because we understand, that people bringing experts in. Obviously, you've got the opportunity. What are the options for people? Obviously, you can bring an agency, but what?
Yes, you can.
What's the thought process?
That's not a bad option, going with an agency, and obviously I'm biased, but it is that option there if you want to be able to do it all. However, if you can't do that, or if you don't want to do that, really, it all comes down to understanding your brand. You need to know what it is you're selling, and what the best output creatively is going to work for that.
And your customer. Understand your customer. Understand your customer, and then actually, and the other thing I'm sure you're going to come on to is look at outside of your own 4 walls.
Exactly.
People just don't do it.
No, they don't. They don't. No. I mean, you always say, this is another classic, one of mine.
Is it an Aaronism?
No, it's one of mine.
Oh, it's one of yours?
It's analyze, adapt, advance.
Ooh.
And that's what you got to do.
You can tell we're marketers, can't you? You can tell we're marketers. We love it. We love an acronym. We love all these things.
You've got to see what's out there. You've got to change it up.
Yes.
Step up. And then go with it all in. And
a little top tip for those watching what we do: mood board it.
Yes.
Take screenshots on your phone of whatever. All you've got to do, if you're in a saturated market, go and visit all of your competitors' websites. This is what we do. Go and visit all of your competitors. So for our clients, we will go and visit all of their competitors' websites. We'll navigate them. We'll spend some time on their websites, and we'll do it on different devices. Then over the next few days, we'll get retargeted via those brands. So they'll be showing us ads. Go, oh, come back and buy the product. Do this, do that, whatever it might be. Take screenshots and screen recordings of all of those ads. get them printed out or mood board, and essentially then create literally a mood board on a table of all the different ads and creative. By doing that, visually, you can see all the different types of creative they're putting out, the types of ads they're running, the different looks and feels they're going for. And that can give you so many ideas.
Oh, God, yeah.
And within that you can say what types of ads they're running, what types of creative they're producing, and so on. And that can feed so many ideas of things that you won't have thought if you're just looking very siloed and very insular and going, well, what do we need to do? Exactly. What have we always done? Let's keep doing this. I mean, what's that great, we're all about the quotes in this episode, but what's that great thing about insanity is doing the same thing but expecting different results. And so many brands, because I get it, they're busy, marketing's one of a million things that you have to do, but you fall into that trap of just doing the same stuff. Well, it worked 3 years ago, surely it's going to work now. No, and that was part of the conversation we were having today, is the creative was great and it worked a couple of years ago, but the trouble is the market's moved on, the customers moved on, the competitors have doubled down, and they've been left behind, which is why they've gone, hey, Evergreen, can you come and give us a hand because we're interested in your creative?
You got to stick with the times.
You got to move.
Step aside, Grandpa.
It's exactly. So are there any other, so what do we think then? I
just want to clarify with that. I just want to clarify, because we said a lot there. I just wanted to clarify the question that you asked, which was, where do you start if you can't afford everyone? Because I think we did answer it, but I just wanted to make sure that we like very clearly answered that, which is you need to understand your business, understand your customers, understand the different mediums, and then choose the one which is going to be most successful. Now, what I mean by that is if your audience are Gen Z and it's very TikTok heavy, then you're going to need video.
For the uninitiated, Gen Z is age range roughly?
Is anyone born after 1996.
Oh, you young'uns. Anyone born after 1996? They're barely out of nappy, surely. What are we then?
We're millennials.
We're millennials. What does that mean? We're old.
We're getting there.
We're in our prime. That means we're in our prime. But it means it's up to. So what that means? You're what? Late 20s?
Late 20s.
Up to what? Early 40s?
Any 4 years younger than me.
Early 40s. Early 40s. Come on, early 40s.
Well, for what? Millennial or Gen Z?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what it is. I have no clue. I have no idea.
So basically, yes. If you're looking to go for a younger audience who are going to be using platforms like TikTok, then you're going to want to invest in video. Although, as we have said on a previous previous Tea Talks, you don't need to go spending the big bucks on video.
No, you don't.
So, you can take that into account as well. Again, if it's more millennial, again, that might be more of an Instagram-led approach. And again, that's going to be, though they do a lot of video on Instagram, images do work very well on there as well. You might go down TikTok's new app called TikTok Notes.
Oh, I've not heard of this. Funny enough, I've not heard of it.
Well, they say it's all the rage with Gen Z.
Well, I don't care because I'm not in that age group. But no, I think it's a really valid point. I think we're not saying suddenly you need an absolute expert in every different discipline, because that is probably unrealistic for any brand to just suddenly go out and get a whole team.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is, just as you say, you don't have to create every different type of content, do you?
You don't.
And I think rather than, a lot of brands go, they dip a toe in the water. They go, we're going to try this, or we're going to get, John to go and do that, and and it's. I just think if you're not, as I said at the top, if you're not happy with the results, or if you're not getting the results, it might be that your ads and your campaigns are not set up well, but just spare a minute to look at the creative.
Yes.
Because it's so important. And if you look at your creative, and then you look at how you've changed it, how you've innovated what you've done, and then you look at your competitors, and honestly look at it not through your own brand's eyes, but look at it as, get people your friends, family, people that are not in your world, that are not in your role, to look at your creative and go, how do we compare? And that's so easily done if you quite literally print it out and go, what do you think of ours? What do you think of theirs? Or take screen recordings. It's such a powerful exercise, and you'll really see. And you need some honest feedback. You need to speak to people that will give you honest feedback and go, actually, yours just doesn't stack up. And once you find that, you can then see within that the types of creating you should be thinking about, and then really think about what do we need to be creating, and then how is the best way we can go about creating this. Is it we're going to bring someone in, a real specialist to do it? You know, you don't have to employ someone full-time to bring someone in on a project basis. Get a freelancer to support. Bring partner with an agency to do it. It all depends on where your brand is and how much of a focus, how much of a priority the creative content is.
Exactly.
But it's just, we just see, I think this is going to be such a brilliant tea talk. I've really enjoyed this one because it's just such an important one that we see brands just going, I'm not getting the results from my ads. And we go, but you haven't changed your creative in 2 years.
It's one of those things that's so simple when you narrow it down, but actually so many people miss it. So I think ultimately, if you leave with nothing else, just remember this. Cameras may do photography and they may do video, but they require a very different skill set.
And if you're a Gen Z, you young thing, and if you're a millennial like us, you're the cool kids. Remember that. Right, we will see you on the next one. Take care.